Hey everyone, Pastor George here with today's Thursday Theolog, and there's a lot going on in the world right now. And I'm not going to talk about that, at least at the moment. Maybe that'll be my Monday or Tuesday Theolog, uh, because today's the mailbag, and we have our first follow-up question, I think, in the mailbag when it comes to a topic I've discussed previously. So someone sent me a topic in relation to that one I did on drugs a while ago. And they write, "Good Theolog today, G." Yeah, that's my name. "I would suggest a topic related as a follow-up, discussing addiction. The juxtaposition between addiction and idols. When actions are taken in order to get high as the end goal, the ultimate achievement, you are serving a master other than God." They also ask, request a guest appearance of Danny. It's my friend Daniel. I don't think this is him sending this. All right. So I can't promise that. Maybe if I'm ever on vacation or something, I'll have Daniel cover for me for doing a theolog or something. All right. So addiction, and yeah, I mean this is actually the traditional way that Christians have talked about gluttony, which I would say addiction falls under, right? But this is even the way the Bible kind of talks about drunkenness and stuff like that, right? Is that it has a very momentary pleasure type thing. Does it ever directly connect it with idols? Off the top of my head, no. I'm thinking of the passages in that Jesus is giving when he's talking about being sober, and also what Paul is talking about in his things. But I think that there's a understanding there that exactly what you're doing, that there is this connection between what is your actual ultimate satisfaction found in, right? And that's really what idolatry is all about, is taking something else and putting in the place of God. And really what we want to strive after is a our ultimate goal being serving God and finding our joy in him. If you use other things in order to get joy, especially ultimate joy, right? You involve your whole world around seeking after these things and getting that, right? Or even finding it necessary, then that has become an issue for you, right? And that's a part of addiction. And this is why you had that list of 7 deadly sins or whatever, and all of them are kind of interrelated to all sorts of issues, but you could certainly put gluttony, right? The indulging of substances, of food, I should say, overindulging or prizing too highly these things leads you astray, right? And it leads you astray because you're ultimately finding pleasure in things that are temporary, right? Like food is a really good example of this, right? Because food doesn't last very long. Even the act of eating, depending on how you eat, right, can only last like, I've had lunches that last like 5 minutes or something, right? It's not exactly the most satisfying thing in the world when you can kind of scarf down a leftover meal or something like that on your lunch break, right? But that it's enough to satisfy you, but is it going to satisfy you for a long time? No, right? And that's just true with all sorts of food, and of course with all substances, right? They only last for a short amount of time, and when their time is over, their usefulness is done, and you just, especially if you're addicted, right, you need more. And if you don't have that, then you gotta get it, and then you kind of freak out, right? And it kind of shows you, at least in a bodily sort of way, where you're putting your focus. And I think that this is really a good example of this, where it's not talking about any of these things necessarily, is where Jesus is giving his "do not worry" commandments, right? Where he talks about, like, don't worry about what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear, because God is going to take care of you, right? You have, like, right there a Jesus calling into question where people are placing their priorities, right? We usually place it on like the very earthly, worldly things about, and finding our pleasure or at least our sustenance in those things, right? And Jesus isn't questioning, he's not saying don't eat or whatever. But what he's doing is he's getting into the heart of the people that are hearing him and saying, what is your ultimate like purpose? Is it just to kind of survive, right? Well, the birds of the air can do that, right? The lilies of the field do that, and they don't even have to think about it, right? You guys have to have that same mentality. And so it's kind of a call to people who suffer from these things, right? Whether it's self-imposed addiction or genetic or whatever. The point is that you need to find in yourself the strength not to see these things as God, right? Even if you have a disease or whatever. The point is that you're still the one making the decision, right? You're still the one who's choosing to engage in these things and find these things more satisfying than the other things in your life, right? And this is true with all addiction or with all sin, really, right? This is just sin in a very real way. So yeah, there's a real juxtaposition. There's a real similarity between addiction and gluttony and idolatry, where you are putting this thing into the place of God because you just can't live without it. So it's a good thing. Everyone else send me questions because I'm at the end. So if you have any questions, send them to me on my email, which is in the link description. And in the script linked in the description below, I should say. And you can message me if you have other ways of doing that. So I'll see you guys around. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Pray for Ukraine and peace out.